Good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting of the Townsend Finance Committee to order at 4:01 p.m. As we have remote members, for a roll call, please indicate you're present. You want to?
Sure. Mark Hussey, present. Jeff
Andrea
Slaughter.
Wood, I'm sorry. Andrea Wood, present.
And John Hayes present. That will give us 4 members of the Finance Committee. With that, we have a forum. We'll continue with the meeting. This meeting is being recorded for playback later on YouTube and Channel 9 is currently broadcasting live on Channel 9. At this point in the agenda, I have no additions and deletions. Is there anything else? The agenda was limited for the special town meeting article. Does anybody have anything else? I have none. Very good with the agenda. On the agenda is the special town meeting. Andrea, do you have a copy of the articles and the questions that were presented, or do you want to see?
No, I have them.
Okay.
I can hardly hear you.
Okay.
We turn it up, or
Yep. Fine.
is this for her?
Thank you.
Is that better?
Much better.
Okay.
There you go. Wait till he talks.
Okay, now I blew it up a little too big.
Oh, thank you, Sharon.
Oh, okay, here, thank you. I also need to share. So, that, and because I've shrunk the panel, if anybody has anything, please speak up and I'll recognize you for that, because with it done, I can't see a hand raised in the okay, so we had that's just the questions. Okay.
Police power purchase.
Yeah, so the first article we had passed on last week because we were looking for more details. Eric must be tied up. He was planning to come in. I did have a brief conversation with Eric. This lease is going to be with the solar company. The idea of it is to put a canopy, and in this case, over the police station. They were going to do police station and library, because those two facilities are large users of power. So this lease is to allow a solar canopy to be installed above the parking lot, and with that, in addition to the aggregate electrical aggregate lower rate we're paying, this will reduce the Unitil monthly fee for supply. So the two halves of the bill, one is just the electric, and we've already tried to reduce that. It's down to 15 cents.
Through the aggregate, yeah.
Through the aggregate. This is to go at the supplier and reduce the supplier cost. So that's what
Are they gonna put the panels, do you think, big enough? I know they're looking at electric police vehicles now too, so I would hope they've taken that into consideration.
into account that that amount. This should be for the total supply and as much space as they have available in those parking lots. So once they've gone to the electrified vehicles, they'll set up and use the power. So this is power for the police station.
What's the length of the lease?
Expressing, I think he said 10 years, but it,
And then we must own them after you, I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, what happens after the 10 years?
right, we need to sign another lease.
Is there just more value in just buying?
So the payments for the lease, would that come out of the
There's no
police
payments.
budget? There are no payments.
There are no payments. This is, it's the placement of, the lease is to allow them, so it sounds like maybe we don't owe them. We're allowing them to place them and, the panels and reduce our costs. I don't think it was,
So we don't pay the energy, we don't pay this energy company anything?
we don't pay this energy company anything, we just reap the benefits of
Do
it.
they want to stop by my house?
There are other similar kinds of projects out there.
Yeah.
With solar. Most of them are just that, they're trying to,
So there's no financial impact
there's
at
no
all?
financial impact other than energy savings on the police budget. And that's why they were looking to roll it out to another big user. The library is, you go by
And
the
they-
lights, or
They would have the same deal?
they would have the same deal for that.
Just don't know how
Is it-
that works.
Is it anticipated that they're gonna generate more power?
Oh, possibly,
Just so
yeah.
that-
Probably, yeah, more than we consume.
More than we
They can
consume.
sell it.
I have a real problem with this one myself. It was said by Eric that this company is also going to pay for this special town meeting. So the town meeting itself would not be a cost to the town. The whole reason this was called was to entertain the idea of giving the selectmen a right to negotiate with them
Mhm.
for this development. I have never, in all the years I've been involved, have ever heard of a contractor or anyone else paying for a special town meeting. Don't think it. I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's nice. It would have to be come into the town as a payment somewhere in later in the year after the thing and go into free cash. I think
Yeah,
I'm scared of this one. I think I think we're getting involved. It sounds more like a bribe to go with them than a contract to go with them.
And I don't understand how they would do all this work and not want any payment for it. I mean, there's gotta be,
it's gotta be a.
they have to make something. They
Let
did,
me see if I can get Eric.
They may be getting paid by the state. You know, you see all over the net the thing about, the
right.
state encouraging you to put those on.
Probably
I don't know.
They're probably getting the credit. There's probably a
Yeah.
Fed credit, the state
Yeah,
credit. And they're probably reaping the benefits if they're they're probably
Planning
reaping
on
the benefits of-
generating more, like you
Yeah.
said.
Oh, I've been called into the principal's office.
Yeah, come on in, sit down, buddy.
So, we started discussing the lease, and questions came up, and I was guessing a little bit, and we were looking for a little more detail around it, so.
Yes.
Again, this is just for the police department at this.
Yeah, so we anticipate that what's gonna happen is that the Board of Selectmen is gonna vote tonight to remove the library from the 25-year lease that we're gonna vote on at town meeting. And we're just gonna go forward with a lease for the police station. It's for a solar canopy that would go over the back lot behind the police station. It's designed to provide sufficient energy to power the police station. The solar company, based on the incentives that they get, they can only build it to the capacity of the building.
Mhm.
They're no longer the state's no longer paying for you to overbuild solar and sell it back.
So
They're
the
paying you.
state's paying the contractor to do this? is that-
No, I mean,
Yeah.
they're getting incentives from the state, but there's
Okay.
incentives that come along with building to the capacity of the building and not overbuilding.
Yeah.
And so that means what we would be entering into is a 25-year lease with the solar company, where then they would sell us the energy at a discount. So right now we pay, we went out to get a quote last fall for all the town buildings. We aggregated all of our energy accounts and got a supplier rate of about 15.5 cents, where Unitil's rate right now is like 21 or 22 cents. So we got a better rate than Unitil's supplier rate. We still have to pay Unitil's delivery rate,
Right.
but the solar company would cut out both of those kind of middlemen. So we wouldn't have to pay Unitil to deliver it. We wouldn't have to pay the supplier to supply it for the police station. So we would instead pay the solar company at a
They basically
much
become the
lower
new
rate.
energy company.
Yeah.
So it's
So it's a
Unitil's no
discount.
longer involved.
Right.
Yeah, so the police station, we're still gonna be hooked up to the grid, so on the days the police station, if it's a rainy, a cloudy day and they're not generating enough power, we're gonna buy it from the grid. And if there's a day when the police station isn't using any electricity, it'll still go back towards our Unitil account as a credit. So we wouldn't be able to sell it to Unitil, but we get a credit on our account to make up for those days.
So the panels won't provide free electricity to the police station, it'll be a discounted rate?
Correct.
Okay.
If we
I understand.
went through and bought the panels and paid for them ourselves, we would get free
Yeah.
electricity, but we'd have to come up with the upfront capital costs.
So what
This
was the
way,
discounted price, did you know?
we haven't entered into that's a part of the lease.
Oh, okay, okay.
Once we get a final negotiation for the lease, we'll have the specific rate. But
I
the
see.
rate, we're looking at a combined rate. I think Unitil right now is 12 cents, I think is their delivery rate. And
Yeah.
it's like 15.5 cents is our supplier rate. So the total rate is 27.5 cents we're paying per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a rate
Distribution
that's,
gonna be a lot less, if any. And
yeah, so
I see.
the
Yeah,
distribution is
yeah.
gonna be nothing, because it's
Yeah.
gonna be hooked right up to
Right,
the
right,
panel.
right.
And so we're just gonna be paying, they're looking at that 23-cent rate, and the 27 cents
Yeah.
that we pay, and we're gonna be paying a significantly less
Sure,
rate than
sure.
that. But even if we
Okay.
pay, even if it's 2 or only like a couple of cents less, those buildings are 2 of our largest energy, generating buildings, other than this one, and there's no way to put solar on this historic building.
Did the company do an assessment of like the total energy usage of the police station versus what they can provide versus what Unitil would have to put up as the gap? So come the winter time, we know we're not gonna produce as much solar, we're gonna have to buy from Unitil.
Yeah, and so the build for the building, for the solar, was intended to capture 12 months worth of the police station's usage.
At 100%?
And so some days that's gonna be less, and we'll get a credit from Unitil, and some days the police station will be more, because the solar production is not necessarily gonna be
It's
matched up with the police station usage, but it should work out the goal at the end of the year is for it to, that's how they get their incentives, is to work out that they're producing the same amount that the police station would use over the course of a year.
And if police station goes up because they start using electric vehicles.
Right, that's gonna happen, you know that.
Yeah, and so that's because we don't have that infrastructure in place and
They
can't charge it.
They can't do it.
We
yeah.
can't, that's not
Can't
part
build
of,
to it.
we can't build to it.
Yeah.
But with the infrastructure, they are putting the infrastructure in, so there will be electric vehicle chargers.
It's just
There'll be
not into
infrastructure
the
for
equation
electric
right
vehicle
now.
chargers there,
Mhm.
but it won't, that capacity isn't built into it because it's
Correct.
not real right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
hypothetical. These leases actually have buyout clauses in year 7, year 10, and year 15 that are preset, the rate at which the town could buy out the solar canopies, and then we would own them outright. And
Right,
then we would
and
get
then
free
we'd have
energy. So
just maintenance costs.
yeah, so we would, I anticipate that the town would likely look into see whether or not there were some
Yeah.
incentives to allow us for with grant money or something to buy those out.
Mhm.
That's, that's obviously down the road. We wouldn't start 7 years from the date they turn it on
Mhm.
is the date at which we would have the first
So
opportunity.
this would probably provide some protection for the cruisers and stuff, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Be that tall of a canopy?
oh yeah, the
Parked
cruisers,
under it? Or?
yeah, would all be parked under it. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting with the police chief and the solar company, and he's gonna rearrange the parking layout, so that is specifically for cruisers
Mhm.
under there. So it keeps them out of the sun, it keeps them out of the weather, even if it just saves us a little bit of maintenance cost on paint or whatever, that's money that we don't have to shell out. And then when we start rolling into a hybrid plug-in fleet, it'll already be set up, that's where the cruisers, they won't have to do any changes then.
Stations. would be
What's
right
the,
there.
what's the annual uptick in the pricing? So Unitil raises their rates by X every year.
Right.
Right. These, I assume they're going to do the same thing, right?
No, I think they're amortizing it out over the life of the lease.
That feels kind of wrong. So I'd be surprised. I would be really surprised if there's no sort of like re-raise it by 3% or 4%, the price every year.
I can certainly double check. Again, we just saw the draft copy of the lease and we're getting ready to send it off to town council and
That's a good question, though.
yeah,
It really is.
we haven't come down on that particular, that information is not something.
I think the other question too is if there's a buyout, we should get some. So the energy company is going to get the credit more than likely. That's the other value for them.
Mhm.
Do we get any? So after 7 years, we decide to buy it out. Do we get some sort of credit return back to us, or is there
It's just
something
it's just a straight cost.
Okay.
But again,
discounted cost?
oh yeah, and the rate and
Due to
the cost,
depreciation of the asset.
the cost
Right,
drops.
right.
So the cost in 7 compared to the cost in 15 are drastically different.
Yeah.
So the longer we,
Because the life expectancy is,
yeah, so the other thing that they have is the expected energy production, based on the asset and, the after 20 years, they're not going to be producing at the same rate that they did when they were new.
Yeah.
It should be. I mean, I think with those things that after 25 years is when most of them should guarantee the production for 25 years. But after 25 years is when you start to see the depreciation of those panels, right?
Yeah.
So that'd be something else we should probably consider too. Because if that's the case and they start depreciating after 10 years, they start to lose their effectiveness.
Why we want to buy it.
I think it's just it's definitely, and
It seems something.
they have to provide us a report with that every year.
Yeah.
And if they're not producing over a certain percentage, if they drop below a certain percentage, they have to write us a check for the difference. Because we had to buy that at a higher rate.
is there a service contract or because they're leasing, they're totally responsible?
They are totally responsible. They own the asset unless we buy it out. That's why we're doing the lease.
And
So they're responsible for all the service and maintenance. That doesn't fall in.
Are they responsible for disposal?
Yes, the lease requires that they return the site to its pre-construction condition. Absent, I think they're not going to dig up the concrete foundations, but down to the ground level.
Is there a possibility for or replace?
I think that we talked
Go ahead.
generally.
Yeah,
It's not a part of the lease, but they say that they do have customers that they've been around and they've gone through and have signed another lease where they took off just the panels and replaced the panels. And left it in place.
Shouldn't the possibility of replacing be just as important as the possibility of returning it to natural state?
Well, I think we definitely want to have something in the lease that says that when we're done, they will take it away.
Yes.
I think the rest is a negotiation. So we might negotiate with them. We might negotiate with a separate company if we think we're going to get a better deal. If we have some other solar provider who's come in with a sweetheart deal. I wouldn't suggest that the town sign a lease that ties them to this company after 25 years.
Right.
And there's always the option for us to negotiate with them if they and we both want to. But I'm much more concerned about having the lease be that they take all their equipment
They
away.
take it, yeah. That makes sense for us to have to
And we'd have no responsibility at all for disposal costs, since the panels are made with selenium and therefore are hazardous waste. Would have to go to a special landfill or facility somewhere. And
Correct.
I would think it would be outrageously expensive.
Correct, and so that assumes that we don't exercise the right of buying them out. If we did buy them out, then we'd be responsible, then we would basically take ownership of the asset and they're off the hook for everything. But if it goes for 25 years and we haven't bought them out, then yes, they are responsible for 100% of the disposal costs and the removal costs.
How long have they been around? Is it
Select?
Yeah.
I know they've been doing projects on the South Shore for a while, but I don't know their exact start date. I can certainly find that out.
Eric, you said that they were that there would be no cost to the special town meeting to us because they were going to pay for it. Is that still true?
Correct.
How
That is true.
can that be? How can we have a contractor pay for a town meeting to do their business, to consider their contract? That almost sounds like a bribe.
Well, I would defer to town council, who I asked that question of and said that was legal.
You did.
Yes. Oh, I would not have done this without going to town council. Yeah. So I talked to Adam about it, and
How would the payment be accounted for?
I mean,
Town meeting?
I think they have to make a donation to the town.
There you go.
To consider, that just stinks. That's terrible.
It does sound hokey, but.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, it happens in zoning contexts a lot.
Will they still pay if we don't pass this article at town meeting?
We should get the check.
Yeah.
Yeah, the town is gonna pay for it, and then once we have the costs,
Yeah, once we know.
Oh, is that how it
We have to
works?
know the
Once we
Yeah,
cost.
yeah.
then
We have a rough estimate, but once we know the cost.
Sure. Hmm.
Yeah, but in the zoning context, that's why Adam was comfortable saying you could do this, is because in lots of towns, a developer comes in to a town, they want to have something, want to do a development the town believes is gonna benefit it, but it needs a rezoning. And there's not a town meeting scheduled anytime soon, so they volunteer to make a donation to the town to pay for the town meeting. And, it's one of those
I have never heard of such a thing, and we've had developments here. That's never happened here. It's never been supported.
Yeah, they wanted to, we talked about putting it on the original fall town, what would have been a regularly scheduled fall town meeting. And originally they were okay with that. And then it just so happens that they actually got their approvals from Unitil way faster than they thought they were going to get them. And so they wanted to try to get a lease because they can't put in their orders for steel until they get the lease signed. Obviously, they're not going to order any product until they've signed a lease. So they are going to, if we can sign a lease, sometime in early October, they can put in an order of steel. And right now it's, 6 months or so, 6 or 7 months for steel. If they had to wait till January, wouldn't be able to put, into the ground until the end of the summer.
So they got drawings and everything all set?
They've submitted drawings to the planning board. There's obviously not going to go forward until they know that the lease is going forward, but they've had preliminary meetings with the planning board about drawings and scale stuff. Yes.
Good.
Excuse me, Sam Grant here. Where I got in late, my apologies, got stuck in the weeds. Where exactly is this property that they're going to put it on?
We're talking about putting solar canopies at the police station.
At the police station.
Yeah, in the lot in the rear, in between the police station and the rear of the senior center.
So therefore, you're not going to get much kilowatts out of it.
It's gonna be the kilowatts that would support the police station.
Okay, that's all it does.
Yep.
Okay.
Are the panels at the senior center gonna be on the canopy as well?
No, those are not going forward. We anticipate that the Board of Selectmen is gonna vote tonight to not go forward with the library senior center panels at this special town meeting.
Oh, okay, I got confused by what you just told Sam.
What's the reason for not going forward with the library senior center?
There have been some concerns raised, in part from the library trustees about, the where the canopies are going to go, whether or not there's going to be a destruction of the landscaping, and so given the fact that that issue is still outstanding, it didn't feel like it was appropriate for us to go forward. It may be on a future special town meeting, or it may not. We'll
Thank
see.
you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any
Sure.
further questions from Finance Committee?
No, I don't know.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Do we want to make the motion and vote while we're here on this article? While Eric's here, do we want to go through the rest of the article?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, maybe we should, and then we can
we'll
vote,
after.
sure, yeah.
So Article 2 is, the, sale of 44 Pittsburgh Road, Unit 405.
Yeah.
And just to confirm, we had discussion, that any of the sale proceeds minus, the sale price minus auction, or plus the auction fees, would go into general fund.
Yeah, any proceeds from the sale of the condominium, which is unit 405, would go into the general fund,
Okay.
yes.
And I will also say the same would hold true for 106 Haynes Road.
Correct.
And which is Article 3, and Article 5, which is 182 warrant.
Yeah, the board has discussed potentially doing something different with the proceeds from Warren Road. There's been lots of conversation about Warren Road, about possibly trying to sell that, take that property and see if Habitat for Humanity would be interested in subdividing the property, selling the back end to Fish and Wildlife because it abuts their land, and the front portion close to the road, sell it to like a Habitat for Humanity or other, nonprofit to redevelop the house into an affordable housing unit.
Is that a vacant property?
No, there's an existing structure on it.
It is, it's boarded up, it's way in the back, you can't see it from the road.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
So they're looking to donate it?
It all depends.
Yeah,
Like, it all
sure.
depends on, but I don't think that we would be necessarily looking to sell that at fair market value necessarily. So we might, if we sell it to the state, the back portion, they'll pay us, but they're paying us for Fish and Wildlife
Yeah,
land, which
yeah,
is
right.
not developable
And
open space.
do they have access to it from the back side?
Yeah, they've got
So they-
plenty of
they don't
land in
need
the
a
back
right
with
of way.
access, so they wouldn't need a right of way through the street. So we had a preliminary conversation with Fish and Wildlife about whether they would be interested if that lot was subdivided. And they said they would. So this is just getting the preliminary permission to the Board of Selectmen to go forward with some sort of a disposal of the asset.
Okay.
Again,
And we wouldn't want to, why would we pick Habitat for Humanity?
they're the low hanging fruit for redeveloping an existing structure into an
And we could
affordable
add
unit.
taxes actually then, right?
And
Yeah, and it's back on the tax rolls, but as an affordable unit as opposed to as a market rate
And
unit.
increases the affordable,
And that's one of the things that the board had talked about with this particular lot was, because there's a pre-existing structure, talking with Habitat, and maybe the Habitat, we haven't gone out and talked to them or any other
It's a proposal.
proposed buyer, but
And I'm sure other people know this better than I do, but if it's an affordable house, it's probably gonna be generate less tax income than something
Probably.
less affordable, perhaps.
Well,
So
Say it-
does
say
that
it
apply? I
differently.
don't
an affordability, yeah.
It ain't zero, but it ain't,
Yeah, an
it's probably
afford-
as much as you can get.
An
either.
affordability restriction impacts the assessed value of the lot. So it will impact, because it's not, the fair market value of something with an affordability restriction on it isn't the same as if there wasn't an affordability
Right.
restriction on it. It still does generate tax revenue because it's back on the rolls and owned by a private owner. As to what that percentage is, it all depends on what they do with the structure. I mean, generally speaking, the Habitat for Humanity projects that I've worked on in the past, they're using donation and sweat equity to do the rehab on a structure, and so they're cutting down on the rehabilitation costs in an effort to, but the property still has a value. It's just maxed out by whatever. And unfortunately, in Middlesex County, the income at which you are still considered affordable is not low. It's that 80% of mean income is pretty high in Middlesex County, which we still fall into.
All the numbers that we saw in master plan, when you include Cambridge and Somerville and all those other locations that are part of Middlesex County, when you get out here,
It skews.
That's a huge skew, though.
But when they do affordability, it's bit by county, and so they look at they're looking at not census tracts, they're looking at county-wide. And so Middlesex County, I think, has the highest affordability number in the state, because it's so freaking expensive to live in that part of Middlesex County.
And again, Middlesex County comes all the way out from there to 128 to 495.
Yeah, it's a long,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
But you're right.
It feels
It
like-
is going to be a lower amount of tax revenue.
It's like a less revenue opportunity.
Yes, it is going to be lower revenue.
better than zero though, right?
Okay, and with that, we did jump over.
We jumped over 240 Main.
540 Main.
540 Main, yeah.
And that's,
And so the preliminary discussions among the board about that is to use, so number one, this is very preliminary. We are not going to sell this anytime soon because the water department is still operating in that facility.
Right. Does the water department own it or the town?
Well, the water department owns it, but already has voted to transfer it to the town
Okay.
when the water department is
Okay.
vacated.
Yeah,
So the
okay.
water commissioners already voted on that. So that vote already happened for them to transfer it once water no longer needs it. And so what we're looking at now is right now the tentative, move-in dates for the water department for the new water treatment plant are sometime late summer into the fall of next year. If we just wanted to have the opportunity, if that fell in earlier, to try to do this during a better sales time.
Right.
And the very preliminary discussions with the board were to try to use this money to seed employee retiree healthcare fund, which is something that the board has talked about for several years now, predating my hiring.
So we don't have you said seated, so you mean we don't have a healthcare fund?
Correct. We are one of, I think, 3 or 4 municipalities in the state that doesn't fund retiree healthcare for employees.
Okay.
And it's a retention a retention issue. So people get to a certain point and they realize they're not going to have retiree healthcare, so they leave. With all of their accumulated
knowledge
and experience. And the board has made the board feels like that's something that they would like to see if we can change. And so one of the challenges about changing that is figuring out how are you going to pay for retiree healthcare, not just to start, but to go on. And so that the whole plan needs to be kind of formed. This is one piece of the puzzle they were contemplating
this would be a piece of it. And again, if we're not selling it until Q3 in 2024, then the money could be in the FY25 budget.
Yeah.
True.
And so we'd be looking at the FY 25 time.
FY '26 budget
26.
Yeah.
26, because we're selling it in the.
in FY, during FY '25.
Right.
So we're talking,
That's when we're seeding it, it's kind of like we're looking for the plan. And one of the things that we went over in our analysis of last year is we really need to start working to the longer term plan. With ARPA, with this, how are we going to do it, how are we gonna finance, so there's
A 5-year plan.
yeah,
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 it's kind of like, so this would fall into it as we,
agreed.
as we go. Any other questions on the water department property, 540 Main Street?
So should we really vote? Yeah, I guess we still can.
We can still vote, and then as the money then would come into the budget for FY 26. That's when we're looking. Again, we're looking, you know, we need to see how we're gonna work, and you know, it's kind of like, as we get into FY 25 and the ARPA money starting to maybe dwindle, coming up with the revenue that is gonna get that. Not to mention the schools, it's kind of like, who are going with 5 bargaining units this year. It's kind of like, we don't know what
Yeah, that's a
that
whole other challenge
Yeah,
that
that's
we're trying to deal with too.
So, and we know the last years, both overrides have been voted down, so we have a challenge to present a strategy or a financial story to the town that hits, that shows it, and hopefully we get in support on both schools and town budget to move forward.
Right.
Okay, then the other articles are all bylaws, 6, 7, and 8, which we had voted on last week. There was no questions for Eric. So one last time before we let him go, any other questions on the lease or the sale of the property?
I'm good.
Okay. Andrew and Sam?
I'm fine.
I'm
Okay.
fine.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks
everybody.
again, Eric.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, Eric is up to. Okay, so back to the articles and voting. We'll start with Article 1, the lease for the Select Energy Development and the solar at the police station.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 1 is written. Do I need to write it? Read it? I can.
No,
We all got a copy.
Yeah, we all have a copy, and we're good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion on the motion for the article? None being heard, a roll call vote.
Mark Hussey, yes.
Sam Grant,
Andrea
yeah.
Wood,
Okay.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Andrea. Please, you first.
Thank you. Andrea Wood, no.
Sam Grant, yes.
Josh Levitt, yes.
Oh, I guess I'm not. It's over, we'll do.
And Don Hayes, yes. And so that motion will pass 4-1. Again, and I know it's relatively new. I have been including in our recommendation sheet what our votes are, so that everybody will know that whether we're unanimous on something or whether there's a little, they need to, I think it needs to be out there.
Transparency.
Yeah, transparent about
Agree.
how we voted. Okay, Article 2, for the selling of the property at 44 Pittsburgh Road, Unit 405. And again, these are going to go to an auction
Right.
to be sold, so.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 2 is written.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve as written. Any further questions or discussion?
I just have, how did the town get in possession of this?
Non-payment of
Tax.
taxes, so it was a tax taking. So the
Oh,
owner.
It's a
of the-
condo within the apartment complex there, I believe.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
It's
Total
going on
time
for a
is
while.
probably gonna be about 5 years.
5
And,
years?
Yeah, it's kind of, it takes about, look, yeah, 2 years to go through the steps of trying to get the owner to pay. Then a year, of, going to court, and then another year of waiting. And so it's about 5 years total from when we don't get taxes to when we actually take the lease is brought to the land court and changed to the town of Townsend as the
I
owner.
got it, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's not quick.
It's been around for a while. I've
It
been
is-
watching it go, wow.
It is not quick, yeah, yeah.
All right, we ready to
Okay.
vote?
I would say we're ready to vote. Roll call, please.
Mark Hussey, yes?
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Josh Levitt, yes.
And Don Hayes, yes. We have unanimous 5-0. Okay, moving on to Article 3, the selling of 106 Ames Road. Same.
I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 3 as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion, questions on the Article 3?
Just curious, the same thing.
Yeah,
Pretty much, yeah.
I've got some pictures I can show you.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, so, same amount of time frame on this one. And so this one is on our position at this point. So, by doing it as a bundle, I think it makes it easier at the auction. It just can run down all the properties in the town. Any additional questions? So it's not an outright buy. You can't go into a town office and choose it. So it's kind of like, that's why we do the auction. So it's fair enough.
Sure.
We have a bidding process, where we open bids. Okay, if there's no further questions, a roll call vote.
Mark Hussey, yes?
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant's gonna have to abstain because I'm lost. That's fine. I think if you're,
Okay, sorry, I didn't scroll. Let me get down.
okay,
So I was talking and looking at my sheet and not scrolling down. So the Article 3 is the same. We have a property that the town owns and is taken for non-payment of taxes at 106 Haynes Road.
okay, sell it.
Okay, then you're a yes. Thank you.
Josh Levitt, yes.
And John Hayes, yes. Then unanimous. Okay, Article 4, as we heard, this is a Townsend Water Department property where the water commissioners have determined that they will turn it back to the town when the water department moves to the new facility at Harbor Trace. When that facility is completed and they have occupancy permit. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 4.
Right.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions regarding the property or the motion to recommend?
I have one question. He said that this was all taken care of, that the water department had voted to turn it over. He didn't say that anything was actually captured in writing, did he?
He didn't, but if they voted, we can go back and
Would
look
be in the
at,
minutes.
it'll be in their minutes of their meeting that they voted.
Yeah, I would I think it would be nice to encourage them to get something concrete in writing, notarized, etc.
Yes. I concur. He said, she said.
Not in this town.
Okay, I don't know about notarized, but I can see it. I can try to get a copy of the minutes from the meeting or look at it online. They should.
I'm sure there's something that must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, the one thing is in when it's in writing,
Mhm.
you have a tendency to take in more little bits, where in a vote, it tends to be much more general. And I think we
Yeah.
need something really specific here. But of course, that's up to the selectmen at any rate, anyway.
Yeah, we've been there before.
Yeah, sadly, you're right.
Okay, sorry, I'm just
That's
thinking
all right.
about how to do you Andrea, do you want to modify the motion to include that we recommend after
No,
this?
I think that would just complicate things. I would like it if we just sent that along as something to the selectmen,
Okay,
you know,
so-
as not
Okay.
advice, but
Okay, so an action item coming out of the meeting related to Article 4.
We recommend that they,
We recommend that they do that and, but,
unless they've already done it.
and do we include that in our write-up and recommendations that we are forwarded it along to Eric and the water commissioners?
I suppose, I mean, you know.
I just want to make sure, if, because from here, Josh, this is the first time, when we have articles that we vote, we put together a recommendation sheet and we have descriptions of it. So as we go and we're having this discussion here, people going to town meeting may not have heard our meeting. And so we put it on paper in the writings and,
Put it in writing.
little
if
information.
nothing else, if we put it in the recommendation, it would be there as a constant reminder, and that might be a good thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
A recommendation to just the water department and Eric, right? I don't think we want to make that recommendation to the people at town meeting, especially if it's already been done. We don't know it, it doesn't exist, that's all I'm saying.
So I can check that case out, before we put it in. If it's
Okay.
not there,
Yep.
I will put it into our recommendation.
Then I'm fine with that, but I just don't want to, you
Okay.
know,
Yep.
we need to find out
Okay.
first before.
Yeah, that's,
So we don't,
yeah, that's right, that's good.
yeah, we don't muddy the motion, we don't change the motion.
No,
We just put it into our description.
exactly,
Yeah.
if need be.
And we talked about this wouldn't happen until FY 26.
The money won't
The money
start.
would be
So
here.
do we make a recommendation to ensure that the monies actually go towards this retirement benefit fund? Only because it's 3 years away.
It's gonna go into the general fund to start with.
Yeah.
And so,
And then from there, they may do that,
right,
put it towards a retirement fund, but they'd have to vote it, right?
they would have to vote it would have to come in at that point. So it's kind of,
Okay, so it isn't concrete that that's what they're gonna do. They're
It's not
just saying
con-
they may do it.
Correct, correct. But it will definitely go to the general fund.
it'll go
They
to the
can't do a
general
lot
fund.
with it unless it's voted upon, but
Right.
it's just them or the town.
The other thing that can be possibly done is that there's a special town meeting that takes that amount from that resource.
And puts it away?
And puts it away into a
Special
a
account.
special account.
Like an escrow account.
Yeah,
Well,
you know,
one of the problems in the past in avoiding this is that whole other accounting for things that you have to put money towards. But some people, some positions, you're able to retire early and can pay their health care for 10 years or
And that-
more. And the town always felt it couldn't afford it. I think it's just the way it's expressed here is way too simple for the issue that we're trying to address.
Right.
Well, like Eric said, I think they were trying to plant a seed to get something going.
But they have to have, you have to, along with that, as we have it, my thought is a list of the years and the estimated number of people that are gonna be drawing from that fund. How
Right,
much per employee is
Yeah.
that, so that you have an idea of going forward.
yeah, what we're gonna need to, how we're gonna
How,
fund it.
yeah, how much is really gonna be out there, how, what it,
I mean, I think it's a good idea. We really do have to start looking at that, but realistically, like you said, Andrea, for years, we haven't been able to afford it, and I don't know how we're gonna be able to do it now.
I think it's a good idea. I just
Yeah.
was more concerned that
if.
someone has to actually do something with that seed.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not-
right.
It's not.
It's not a bad idea. It's just an expensive idea. But look
Yeah.
at our town as it was. Our past fire chief was retired,
Yeah,
but he was getting health care from his original. He was getting it from his original thing. Our police chief, the same way. It's you've got to think of this in a much longer term than somebody who's going to retire at 65.
Right, because public servants generally are out early. I know, you can't be a police officer after
after
65.
65, that's the, yeah. That's why chief retired.
Right,
So,
But some of them retire a great deal earlier.
yeah,
Too.
right,
many of them do, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, once they hit a particular target and what their percentage is, it's all personal.
Yeah.
And like where you are, on the scale and what your percent is that you're taking of your salary when you leave. So you're right, it's kind of like, and that's the piece, it's kind of like, how many people, how many years, it's just gonna keep building. If it's a 20-year fund, that means that you've got people coming in, if it's 20 years in retirement that you're drawing on this fund, that's a lot of money over time. It's kind of like, and how are we gonna continue to be able to fund that as it grows, as additional
Yeah,
people-
particularly when all the time we're going along here talking about retirement health care. Our regular health care for other employees is rising as we go along. It's never staying still.
So,
All right, should we vote on this?
I think we can vote on the selling of the property.
Right.
Where the proceeds go. At this point, it doesn't have a fund to move into.
So
We're
you
talking
would
about-
have to go to the general fund.
It has to go to the general
Right.
fund. And the idea is, when it hits there, we don't want it to, just be used for snow and ice removal or.
Right, oh, yeah, I
anything
mean-
like that, so,
I don't think we should say that it has to be used for retirement fund.
no.
I mean, as long as it goes in the general fund and it's the town's money and we spend it wisely.
Use it to buy the solar panels.
So we're actually voting just to sell the property, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I think that's.
Yeah,
Agreed, yeah. So,
well, if that's the case,
Is
oh,
that-
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, is that everybody else's, impression at that point, that we just vote it, or just to make sure, so the vote is to sell the property, when it's vacated? Knowing,
Yeah, I mean, that's my understanding.
Yeah.
I mean, the other articles don't say anything different, so I get it.
okay, so that would be a yes vote is
To sell
voting
it.
for the authorizing the selling. The other side, we'll have to watch budgets next year and see where that. If they do.
Year after, probably,
Year after,
actually.
FY, yeah, as we get in there, FY '26, and make sure that this,
Follow the money.
Yep.
Okay,
okay, so we did have the motion.
Yeah.
And it was seconded. We're ready for the vote.
Mark Hussey, yes?
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Josh Levitt, yes.
And Don Hayes, yes. Again, unanimous, 5-0. Article 5. This one is authorizing the selling of
Sam
182.
can't see it.
Oh, sorry, Sam.
Thank you.
Interrupt you.
Oh, that thing there, I never did figure out what that was.
Yeah, sorry, it's kind of like, okay.
Got it on my other screen, but it's Greek to me.
That other was just showing who, in today's cards online, on the assessor's value, it was, who owns 540 Main Street, so.
Thank you.
That's what that picture was. You needed to blow it up to really see the detail. Or if you haven't seen the assessor's office, you can go in and see the assessed value on your property online at any time. And any of the notes that they may have taken with it. Okay, so Article 5 is selling of the 182 Warren Road. And as Eric had stated, it may or may not include breaking it into 2 lots. Again, this has been around longer. I think 2 or 3 years ago, we voted on the reserve fund to board
To board it up,
it
yeah.
up. So it's been sitting around for longer. So the town had owned it and it's been sitting around for that long. So we're just now getting into it. And what the purpose is and what the final look will be is at the selectmen's discretion and what they're able to work with all the parties.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 5 as written.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, there's nothing there.
Okay, any additional?
What, for the assess?
Yeah.
You on the town website?
No, I'm like,
No,
oh,
I'm on Google Maps.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what the
It's
property is.
all grown in.
Somebody just did Google Earth to show the property and
A jungle.
all wooded front land. It's been so long, the driveway isn't even accessible anymore. So, okay, any further questions on Article 5?
I mean, my only comment is still it's the same comment. It just feels like, I don't know, I feel like that if we're looking for tax revenue, just, using it to Habitat Humanity just doesn't feel like the way to optimize that, but.
It's just, it's not etched in stone, that's what they'll do.
Oh, wait a minute, they're doing it again. Yeah, you're right.
It isn't, but the other part,
We're just recommending this, again, we're just recommending this.
To sell.
we're recommending
All
the
right,
sale if it happens, but
Yeah, no, I
little
get
bit
it, I
on
get it.
there's a target that has been set for affordable housing by the state, and we're falling short
I got you, okay.
of that, so I think part of,
That's another thing, yeah.
yeah, it's another
The more will fall to it.
yeah, so it's another play at trying to increase our inventory of affordable houses
I got you.
for sale. So yeah, it's not rent, but we don't have to have somebody come in and develop and put in 10 houses and have 2 that are affordable.
That makes sense, Okay.
That I think is that driver.
Yeah, revenue's revenue, I got you.
It's not revenue, if revenue is revenue, it helps, and at the same time, we're helping.
Yeah, we're checking a box.
We're checking a box to try to increase our affordable inventory. Okay, so we had that additional discussion. Any further questions? None being heard, a roll call vote, please.
Mark Hussey, yes?
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Thank you.
Josh Levitt, yes.
And John Hayes, yes. So, again, unanimous. Thank you. The other votes, we, just as a reminder, were bylaw changes. And normally, when we have bylaw changes, FinCom does not go, but Article 6 was posting, and again, I noticed some spelling errors in here. This was a conversion from PDF into Word, so I didn't go through and fix all spelling errors. This was just to get it into a Word document that I could manipulate a little easier. So we had recommended, because this is posting it in alternate locations if a location is unavailable for some reason. So that was the people that were here last week, so that was a 5-0 vote also. And then the last two articles are about the Board of Health, and changes to the Board of Health, making it an appointed board rather than an elected board. And these, we definitely voted again, unanimous, no recommendation on them because they're bylaw changes.
Yep.
Okay, that was the agenda we went through. I will get together the recommendation sheet and get it to town clerk so it can be handed out at,
We want to just confirm our next appointments?
Yes, please.
yeah. Wanted to do that. It's kind of like, and that's the next thing on the menu.
Oh, I thought you were calling in. I'm sorry, that's why I
No, no,
said
no.
that.
It's kind of like, yeah, sorry.
I have, and we can correct me if I'm wrong, October 10th, 24th, and November 14th.
Okay, so we have a change to November 14th. So, it's October 10th and 24 at 5:30
At
PM.
5:30, correct.
Yeah, so we are changing our meeting.
I think that's what I had. This is what I wrote last week,
That's what I
so.
have too. Well, not that my timing's any better, because I was late, 2 hours late to the last meeting. So. But yeah, I have October 10th at 5:30.
Okay, so we're hoping if it doesn't work, maybe we can slide it again. Again, we're off cycle with the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
And let me check the December one just as we're here, and then we'll talk about November. So December 1st, 3rd, so that would be December 12th, at 5:30 also.
2 days before I retire. I don't know if I'll be here.
It was 2 days after you retired?
2
then
days
maybe you might have-
before. I'm just gonna, we'll see. But 3 days, I'm
3
sorry.
days, okay, you're gonna retire on a Friday, good. Okay, so we had it, and I'm sorry, what was it, November?
14 was what I had.
Okay, so because November 7th is a state election day, the selectmen are not holding their normal meeting on November 7th. So they've moved to October 14th, so November 14th, sorry. We have no elections in Townsend during that. But,
So do we want to do the 7th?
I have the 7th.
Oh, you do?
That's what I had for November 7th.
okay. And Sam and Andrea, how are you with November 7th? You're not planning to go to Pittsburgh or anything and vote in there?
No, everything's fine, thank you.
Don? I'm very much in favor of anything you want to post. Can you please, when you get them all put down, just email it out to everybody?
I will do, yeah, it's kind of like, so, and that will be the same. I'll double check it with TCAM just to make sure that they're available for the Zoom meeting part of it. I don't expect a problem, but the 21st, which is, that's the week of Thanksgiving, I wouldn't want to do it
No.
then. And if selection are doing the 14th, I don't know if they'll do 28th or just go to December 5th. And so they may miss it, but I think at best, right now, we'll do November 7th. And really, on the agenda for October 10th, I will get out the changes that I said I would make last week on the formatting of our analysis, or the postmortem of
Oh, yeah,
the budget.
yeah.
And then, once we're finalized that on the 10th, we'll schedule a meeting with the selectmen, do a joint meeting with the selectmen and discuss it in live with them. So they'll maybe, in piece, or maybe timing wise, does it make sense to do that on the November 14th and just get on their agenda for November 14th?
We're gonna be ready then?
We will be ready then. Generally, the information's available. This is just a formatting thing. I want to get, instead of just talking about a document that we were looking at, I want to take a picture of the document, include it so that it's right there in your face and you can say, this is the document we're talking about. This is the issue, this is the
All
question.
right, so see if we can get on the agenda for the 14th
Yeah,
and cancel the 7th.
I think that, we don't have a meeting on the 7th, but that, on the 14th, it seems to make sense that,
Okay, well, why don't you just send an email out, let us
Yeah.
know. If we
Yeah.
get on the agenda, then we'll cancel the 7th, go to the 14th.
okay, so that's the schedule at this point. If we're not on the agenda for the selectmen on the 14th, we'll meet on the 7th.
Yeah.
And that'll be our one meeting in November. We talked about going to 1 month in November and December, so we'll stick with that.
Okay,
Okay, and I do have, for the other 3 dates, I already have the Zoom meeting information from TCAM, so
Okay.
those are good to go. So we'll just
good,
firm up in the November meeting. Okay.
excellent.
I have nothing else. I'll leave it open. Any other new business questions?
I'm good.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:08.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 5:08.
And a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Andrew. Roll call vote since we're remote.
Mark Hussey? Yes?
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Josh Levitt, yes.
And Don Hayes, yes. With that, we stand adjourned.